In this video, we'll be creating a polyphonic chord patch that's going to sound like this. So to create this patch, we'll go ahead and load up Massive X real quick. So let's go ahead and click on that and load it up. Then for this patch, we'll be combining two different waveforms together. We'll have kind of a traditional triangle waveform with a little bit of distortion on it. And then we'll also be combining this with one of the more unusual format wavetables inside of Massive. Let's go ahead and go over to the first oscillator and bring that down until you have almost a perfect triangle waveform, but just a little bit of the saw waveform blended in. Make sure that volume is turned all the way up, and that just sounds like this. Now let's go ahead and load up a format wavetable, which will sit on top of our entire synthesizer patch. So go over here and load up the format wavetable. And we want to load the talkative square 8-bit wavetable. And by itself, that just sounds like this. I want to bring the wavetable amount down just slightly. I want to push that up one full octave, so 12 semitones. Then we can go ahead and bring back in the other wavetable. And then we also want to swap this over to the jitter playback mode. So it almost gives us an arpeggiator-like effect on the synthesizer patch. We'll also set this to P switch. Bring the filter down quite a bit to just about there, so we cut out a lot of those high frequencies. And then we also want to bring the jitter amount down as well to just about the same amount. And that sounds like this. So it kind of provides some oscillation to sit on top of the synth sound. And right now that doesn't sound like much, but we'll be automating the volume curve of this oscillator a little bit later with one of the envelopes. So let's go ahead and move over into the amplifier envelope section of the synthesizer. Push the attack just beyond halfway. Make sure the decay is set to 50%. The sustain is all the way up. And then let's just bring that release up just beyond halfway as well. So just slightly over 50%. And then we also want to add in two different noise oscillators. The first of which is going to be one of the environment noises. And that's going to be this maple fire, which by itself just sounds like this. So this is the sound of some maple trees that are on fire. So we'll go ahead and bring that volume back up. And then we also want to add in a white noise as well. And just a little bit of that layered on top of everything. And we'll actually be automating this with an LFO a bit later, so we can go ahead and turn down the volume of the white noise for now. Then let's go ahead and swap over some of the internal routing of the noise waveforms. And what we want to do is filter out the bass from the maple fire noise, because there's a lot of bass frequencies in that. So we'll go ahead and change the routing here. And what we'll do is we'll take part B, bring that over here, go ahead and route that into effects part B, route that into C, and then take the filter output and also route that into C as well. So that way we just can apply a filter effect to just that noise waveform. Then let's also go ahead and make some adjustments to the voice settings. So go ahead and move over to the unison mode, change the amount of voices to 5, put the stereo width all the way up, keep the stereo spread where it's at, and we can also leave that on the free run mode as well. So far that just sounds like this. Then we can go ahead and start applying some effect sections to these internal effects here. So the first of which is going to be a ring modulation effect. This will be applied to the entire synthesizer patch except for this one maple fire noise waveform. Then we can go ahead and turn down the semitone control to -12 and bring the mix down to just about there. And that sounds like this. And play back on a higher note, it would sound like this. And then let's go ahead and add that high pass filter for that noise waveform. So we'll go over to Effects Select B, change that to a utility plugin, turn that on, and turn to the high pass 2. And we can just leave that at all of its default settings. Then it's going to filter out the bass from this noise waveform. So it enables that just to kind of sit on top of everything. And it also cleans up the frequencies quite a bit because there's not a bunch of additional bass frequencies layered below the entire synthesizer patch. Then let's go ahead and add in some modulation. So let's go over to the performance envelopes and add in two different points on this performance envelope here. So this lasts for 4 different bars. We'll go ahead and shorten up the length as well so it loops back on itself once it completes its 4-bar pattern. Also want to make sure that this is set to the keyboard trigger mode. And then we want to set this to control the volume of the second wavetable. So go ahead and click and assign that and bring that just about to there. And then we also want to turn the semitone control down to -12 and have that applied to this as well. So what this will be doing is turning up the volume and turning down the pitch of this oscillator as this envelope plays back. And that sounds like this. So this adds in some additional melodic interest to our sound and makes it a bit more ambient and interesting. We can even turn down that amount just slightly as well, so there's not quite as much volume on that overtone kind of wavetable that we have sitting on top of everything. And then we want to go ahead and add in some low frequency oscillator as well. So let's go over to LFO number 4, change this to the sync, leave that at 1/16, but turn that to this saw down waveform. And then we want to apply that to the noise. So let's go ahead and do that. So this will be applied to the white noise. We'll bring that up just slightly. So we have just a little bit of modulation on that white noise. That sounds like this. Then we also want to have this modulation amount be scaled by the performance envelope number 1. So go ahead and click on that and assign that to this, and then just turn this small little icon to the left. So what this will do is as this performance envelope plays back, it will increase the intensity of this modulation, and as it gets lower in value, it's going to have less of that modulation. So far that sounds like this. So you can hear the volume of that white noise and its modulation fading in and out because of the scaling feature that we've added in. And actually, let's go ahead and just apply that to the right-hand side as well to see what that sounds like. So that way everything fades into the noise waveform whenever we press our key rather than having it start off at a full amount of the noise and then fade out as it goes. And that's just based on personal preference. You can kind of adjust this however you'd like. If you want the noise to start as soon as you press your key, you can move that to the left as we initially had it. Or if you'd like that noise to fade in after you press your key, you can move that to the right. Then let's go ahead and add in some additional effects. So let's add in a delay unit. So go ahead and click on that and add in a stereo delay. Turn the sync control on, bring the mix down just slightly. Then we want to change this to 1/4, so we have a much slower delay time. So it's a quarter note. Bring the flutter control up just slightly, so we have a little bit of a pitch modulation happening on the delay unit, and bring the color up as well. And that sounds like this. Then we also want to add in a reverb as well, so go ahead and enable that. Bring the mix down to just about there. Push the size all the way up, and then push the chorus all the way up as well. And then we're also going to apply the mix control to this performance envelope number 1, so that the amount of reverb increases as the synthesizer patch is playing back. So we can even bring that mix control down just slightly, and it sounds like this. And depending on your own personal preferences, you can always go in and adjust the noise accordingly. If you want less of that noise, we could just bring that down slightly so it's not too overpowering. Or if you wanted more of this kind of atonal ambient oscillator, and you can increase that amount as well. So feel free to customize this as you see fit. So now our completed synthesizer patch sounds like this. And just to show you how this could potentially be used in a project, I'm going to show you those notes that I had in the introduction, just so you can get an idea of how you might use this patch, which again, just sounded like this. So opening up this note pattern, we have some really simple chords going on here. It starts off on a C note and then moves up 3 semitones to a D sharp. Then it moves up 4 semitones to a G in the 3rd octave. This chord lasts for 3 bars, and then there's a 1 bar rest at the end of this pattern. And you could always extend this out if you'd like, or increase the release on the synthesizer so there's a bit more of a fade out, depending on the type of sound that you'd like. And then for the next chord, it goes down to this G note, moves up 3 semitones to an A sharp in the 2nd octave, and then moves up 4 semitones to a D. So this is the same chord intervals that we had in this previous chord, just transposed down a few different notes. So that just gives you an idea of how you might construct a chord sequence with this synthesizer patch. So that wraps up this video and also wraps up this sound design course for Massive X. And make sure to check out the other Massive X videos and courses on Groove Thieves' website, as well as the other courses that they have on various other digital audio workstations and synthesizers. I hope you enjoyed this course, and I will see you in another course soon.